Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the very first Beginner's Luck webinar. This is a live broadcast. I'm here in my office, stroke kitchen, and you can see me, but remember, I can't see you, so I can't see you picking your nose or sitting there at Jimmy Jams or anything else like that. But you get to see me, and you still get to ask me questions through the course of this little session that I'm going to be presenting to you this evening, which is going to focus on what I believe are the key components of the program, the Beginner's Luck Guide for Non-Runners, and really what I've discovered over the last couple of years working with literally hundreds, if not thousands, of beginner runners to get from the stage of being a non-runner to a confident runner. And we've had some incredible successes, and I'm really proud of the program and the life it's gone on to almost have a life of its own, really. And some of the successes have included people going off and runners getting the confidence to go off and run distances like 10Ks and half marathons, even full marathons. And I've even used a couple of complete beginners that were complete beginners at the beginning of the program, and then I've used them on my pacemaking team for major events. So this really is a program that works and can work, but there are certain things that you need to do in order to increase your chances of making it stick. Because most people who do the Beginner's Luck program have at some point in their life before tried to start to run. They've tried it and they failed, and you may well be one of those people. And perhaps the word failed is a little harsh there, but you tried it and then you've given up, or you feel like you've gone back to the start again now. So you're no longer capable of running for any real distance or time, and so to all intents and purposes, you're a beginner runner or a non-runner. So what is it then about other programs or other attempts at running that end up with going from getting out there 2-3 times a week to all of a sudden not going out, and then go right back to the start, having no motivation, no inclination, and just another little bit of frustration that you can't do this? What is it that causes that to happen? Because I believe there are a few things, and I believe that most of them are mindset related. Of course, if you pick up an injury, or you have a really frustrating niggle that just won't go away and it's just uncomfortable to run, then that's something physical, and that's something that's going to affect your enjoyment and even whether or not you should be running. Perhaps it's just not something that your body is designed to do. It's not something you can necessarily jump on that as an excuse or as a reason not to run, but some people just find that it's so hard and it's so uncomfortable, and it's like, well, what's the point? You don't have to be a runner. But if it is something you want to do, then most of the time the thing that holds you back is up here, and that is what the Beginner's Luck program really focuses on. As well as giving you the structure, it focuses on giving you some of the mindset tools as well to make it work this time. Now, I'm going to go through a few little pieces that, as I said, I believe are the cornerstones of the program. But the whole way through, I want to invite you to ask your questions. Anything at all that you think will increase your chance of becoming the confident runner that I keep talking about, and being able to go out there for 30, 40, 50, even 60 minutes in one go without stopping. Now, what is it that's going to help you get to that point, or what challenges do you think you're going to face that I may be able to help you overcome? And you can ask the questions via the Facebook page, the Facebook group rather, and ask them on this thread. So the thread where the video link was, if you're watching this through Google Plus, by the way, then you need to go to Facebook and find the Beginner's Luck Facebook group, and then you can ask your questions in there. But what I'll do at the end, I will go through them. So I'm not looking at that page now. I'll just flick back to that at the end of my little presentation, which isn't very long, really. I just want to kind of whip through some of the key points the next sort of 15, 20 minutes or so, and then I'll just stick around for as long as it takes, and I'll answer as many questions as I can within a kind of reasonable time frame. So let's get going with what I think is one of the main reasons people quit, stop running, lose motivation, and that's kind of a lack of progress. and you just feel like it's hard work. Running is hard. I mean, I make a big thing of it on the website about how, and we tell ourselves these things. Running's hard. I'm not built for running. I've never been able to run for a bus. I was always rubbish across country. All these things that we tell ourselves, and then we go out running. We realize, actually, you know what? It's flipping hard work, isn't it? And I get really out of breath, and I get really hot, really sweaty, and my legs are burning, my lungs are burning, and I just feel like I physically have to stop. Well, I know if you've been in the Facebook group or you've read any of the book at all, you'll know that the key to combating this is the golden key. You just slow down. And here's the thing. Here's the reason why that works so well. This isn't a 0 to 5K or a 0 to 10K or a 0 to half marathon train program. This is getting you so you can run comfortably and confidently for longer and longer periods of time, maybe up to an hour. It's called the 0 to 60. Learn to run from scratch to 60 in 10 weeks or less. Okay? If you get to a point where you're running for half an hour and you're happy with that, you don't have to push on for running for an hour. It's an arbitrary period of time. It doesn't matter. And you know what? You may be covering 5 kilometers in an hour. You may be covering 6, 7, 8. Maybe you'll cover 10 kilometers in an hour. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Nobody else cares. It's how long you're running for that is the important thing. And because of that, it doesn't matter what speed you run at. A minute will pass whether you're sat down on your seat, walking, or jogging at a slow speed. A minute will pass if you're running at a fast speed. A minute will pass if you're Mo Farah running the fastest he could possibly run on his 5K Olympic bid. It doesn't matter. A minute will pass. 30 minutes will pass. 60 minutes will pass, regardless of who you are and how fast you're running. The only difference is it's a matter of scale. You're never going to be the fastest person. You're probably not, if you're doing this, you're not going to be the slowest person, because as the saying goes, you're lapping all those other people who are still sat there on the couch. So it doesn't matter about speed, which means that plays into your hands, because you can just slow down. And hey, guess what happens when you slow down? You find things easier. In fact, things become easier and easier and easier. And the easier you find it, and the more you find that you're stopping you're getting to the point where the program says, okay, you know what, you've done enough for this session of the program, whatever cat week you're in. You get to that point and you're thinking, well, I could go on. I mean, don't finish, follow the program through, don't do any more than you need to, because you can progress, and you don't want to be, you want to be progressing at a nice, smooth, steady rate. But if you get to that point, you're thinking, wow, I could have done more there. That's what you want. You want to finish the session feeling as though you could have done more. Because how motivating is that? You want to feel like you're eager to get out there for the next session, the next run. You're looking forward to it. And you'll probably start saying things you've never thought you'd hear yourself say, like, I'm looking forward to running. I'm enjoying running. I'm finding it easy. These are things that you will end up saying if you slow it down. So just remember to turn the key. And I've seen this happen dozens and dozens of times. A lot of the work I do is online. A lot of it is online. I kind of hide away behind my computer, sitting there on Costa Coffee, drinking my coffee, my Americanos, and tapping away on the computer, coaching, okay? That's a lot of what I do. But I do still get out there, and I do work with people, with groups and with one-to-one clients, and with running. And I've seen this happen so many times, where they've come to me and said, George, I just find it really hard to run. I've gone out there, and I've run with them, and I've realized how flipping fast they're running, and no wonder they can only keep it going for a short period of time. So I said, hey, just hold back, slow down, slow right down, take it easy, let's go just a little bit faster than walking pace, because you're still running. Running is running, right? It's just a matter of scale after that. Get them running just a little bit faster than walking pace, and all of a sudden, things become easier. One of the bits of feedback I get from that is that, but it doesn't feel like I'm running now, though. You are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you perceive, and this is why mindset comes into it, because it's a perception of what you think running equals. You look at the marathon on the TV and you see people whizzing past, and you watch races, and you go to races and you see all these real kind of what seem to be professional runners, and they're out there, they're going really quick. That's running. Going at your slow walking pace, just a little bit faster than walking pace. Well, that's not really running, is it? Well, yes, it is. It is running. It's just a matter of scale. beyond that point. Now, I remember when I started to run, I was about 8 years old. My dad used to take me out, and he was in the army, and we used to go out running at his lunch breaks. I was living in Bielefeld in West Germany at the time. War was up, so still West Germany. Yeah, that's right. Get my geography right. And one particular time we were out running, and he was a little bit ahead of me. We were running through this park, and he was a little bit ahead of me. And we came to these kind of steps, just 4 or 5 steps, and he was a bit ahead, and I was getting pretty tired. I remember stopping and walking, and I walked up these steps, and I started running. I didn't think he'd noticed. Okay, I thought I got away with it. And we got to the end, and he turned to me and said, good run, gave me the whole praise stuff, and he said, but you walked, didn't you? You stopped and walked, and I was like, yes, I did. And I wasn't in trouble, but he was just acknowledging that I had stopped and walked, and he said to me, it doesn't matter how slow. I was capable of running that distance at that time. At that point, it was only a few kilometers, but I was capable of doing it. But I stopped and walked. My dad's point was, it doesn't matter how slow you go, you're still running. And actually going, if you imagine running at 10 miles an hour or running at 2 miles an hour, it's a continuum. But as soon as you then walk, it becomes a binary. You're going from walking to running. Now that's okay as you're building up. That's absolutely fine. But the point of telling you this little story is that whether you're running at 2 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour, you're still running. You're still running. So it doesn't matter how fast you're going. So first of all, work on that. Slow down as much as you can, even if you're going only at walking pace, because you'll start finding it easier. You'll build up your confidence more, and you'll find that you're finishing each session able to do more. And looking forward to the next session. And don't forget, if you get to the point where you're running for 45 minutes, and you don't bother about going for the hour, but you get to a point where you're going for 45 minutes at a really slow pace. Well, hey, look, if you can do 45 minutes at a really slow pace, you can probably do 30 minutes at a slightly faster pace. So that's where the speed starts to come in. And there's a chapter in the book that explains how you start adding speed into your training. Start off with though, let's get those first few cats under your belt. Don't worry about the speed. Now, talking of cats, that's where the next piece comes in, because I designed this as a levels-based program rather than a weeks-based program. And part of me now, I think when I rewrite the book, the next edition of it, then I'll take the word week out completely. So instead of having cat weeks, it'll be cat levels, and you'll have bobcat level and wildcat level and so on, because that's exactly what they are. And it doesn't matter how long it takes you to complete each of these levels. You do the runs, and you keep on repeating those runs until you have completed them. And I know there was somebody on in the group earlier today saying, I found that run really hard. It's like, well, just repeat the run. Repeat it. Repeat it as many times as you need to. Slow down as much as you need to, as I just said, but repeat that run as many times as you need to feel confident enough to go on to the next level. Because if you don't, if it's a real struggle, then believe you me, the next level is going to get a little bit harder. So you don't want to move to a harder level if you're only just able to complete the level that you're on. You want to finish it feeling like you're confident enough to move to the next one. And don't forget, I've written these as you've got this much intensity or volume in the first one, then there's that much in the next one, then there's that much in the next one, then there's that much in the next one. Okay, these are step incremental increases in intensity and or volume for each of the runs, each of the levels. So if you get to the point where you've incrementally increased by that much, but then that much is just a little bit too much, then just increase it by that much. Just take it up a little bit more. And the way to do that is by increasing the amount of time that you rest for in between the runs, or decreasing the amount of time that you actually run for, or doing 1 or 2 fewer intervals, or take maybe a 5-minute walk break in between the intervals, in the middle of the intervals, and then finish it off. So you're doing something. It's a little bit more than this level here, but it's not quite at this level here. So you create your own step, and that's okay as well. Because I'm going to tell you now what the real purpose of this program is. Because you think the purpose of the program is to get you running confidently for an hour. That's not it at all. That's part of the reason. But like I said, some of you, you'll never want to go out running for an hour. Not everyone does. It's an arbitrary target that I've set up, not to 60 minutes in 10 weeks. It's just they're just nice round numbers. Okay. I know plenty of really, really good runners. I mean, runners who are putting in fast times for 10K. Really, really efficient 5K runners, 1,500-meter track runners. They'll never run anywhere near an hour. I rarely run for an hour unless I'm training for a marathon or a half marathon. Then I'll put in some longer runs. But I rarely run for an hour or more. So just because we're looking at building up to an hour, it doesn't really matter. Okay, but that's by the by, because the other real purpose of the program is to get you out the door running regularly. So whether you're running and doing this much, or this much, or this much, it doesn't really matter, because by the sheer process of going for a run, you're achieving your goal. Your goal, one of your goals certainly, is to be able to go out for a run. I'm just giving you a different structure to going out for 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes or non-stop, or doing threshold running or hill training or training for a marathon. I'm just giving you a different structure here with the Beginners Luck program. That's all it is. You're still going out for a run. This is all about perception. And you'll see people, probably this started at school, where you see those racing snakes who just find it easy. Off they go at the front of the pack every single time, and they just seem to find running a real breeze. Okay, that's going to be your perception of what a runner is like. Well, that's just a type of runner. If you put any of those really good school runners that you went to school with and kicked your backside across country every single time and made you feel like you were, just useless and couldn't do it, and your PE teacher probably didn't help matters either. If you took any one of those runners and put them up against an Olympic athlete, Mo Farah, or any of the other elite marathon or half marathon runners, there's no way they'd stand a chance, and they would look like completely pathetic, playing at it runners. So this is all about relative levels of perception. You've only got your own experiences to work from, and that's where that level is right now. That's where your perceptions are. And if you feel like you're down here, then you're not going to feel like you're a proper runner, but you are. You're just getting out there and you're doing it. If you're going out 2 or 3 times a week, then you're a runner. And hey, look, I consider myself to be a runner. Most weeks, I don't even go for a run, but I still know that I can go for a run. And I enjoy doing it. It's the process that I enjoy doing. So if you're going out 3 times a week, you're running more than I am right now. Okay, and I'm known as a running coach, or the guy who runs. I don't run that much, but you're getting out there, and you're getting out there 1, 2, or 3 times a week, and you're running regularly. So if the program does anything for you, it just gets you out the door with a little bit of structure in mind as to how you're going to attack this next level, this next run. Okay, now there's a couple of other things I want to talk about, but I'm going to go back to the Facebook group just for a moment and see if there's any questions coming, because I know that there's one that came in earlier that was about nutrition. I want to touch on nutrition in a moment, because I know that links in with one of major motivating factors for people taking up running or perhaps joining the group, which is to try and lose weight and just get fitter and as I said, shed some fat. So nutrition is an important part, and I do talk about that in the book, but let me go back and have a look. So I'm going to come back to that point in just a moment. I'm just going to come back to see if there are any questions. Now, there is a 15-second delay on the feed here, so everything you hear me say is a little bit behind. So I'm just checking the okay, so no, there are no questions yet. I'm looking at it. If you have a question, don't forget, ask it underneath the link to this video, to this live feed. Okay, I'm going to go back in a second. I'll come back and ask and check for more questions in a moment. Maybe there aren't any questions. Maybe you've got enough to be going on with. If you do, obviously you can ask them in the Facebook group anyway. So it might be an idea. If you have questions, you can ask them live, and then you can try and clarify my answers by asking follow-up questions. So that's okay if you want to do that. If no other questions, no problem at all. But let's talk about this, because this is from Susanna, who's asked this question already, and she's asked about snacking. She says, might be a bit off topic. It's not. It's absolutely on topic. I was struck by your comment that you can't out-train bad nutrition. As a new mum, I'm always snacking poorly at 4 a.m., etc. Any tips on healthy snacks? Oh, the 4 a.m. The 4 a.m. Feeding window. Yeah, that's a tough one. I've got 3 kids of my own, and I know. Obviously, haven't done the feeding thing like that, but I've certainly been up and 4 o'clock in the morning feeling a bit peckish. What am I going to grab for? So this really comes down to, it's a bit of an unusual situation, but it does come down to just having something healthy in that you can snack on. And at that time of the morning, really, you could probably get away with not having anything. You're probably not hungry enough, but you think, my goodness, I really need to have my breakfast. And if you are, then I would just have your breakfast and then go back to bed and then have something snacky later on if you need it. But in general, as a runner, now here's something that I always find very interesting. As a runner, we're told that we need lots and lots of starchy carbohydrates. And we tend to fill our plates with bowls of pasta, we eat loads of bread, loads of sandwiches, and we have loads of bowls of porridge as cereal for breakfast in the morning. And one of the most common and frustrating questions I get asked is by people who've taken up running and they're training for an event, and they tell me that they've actually started putting on weight instead of losing weight, which is one of the major goals and major reasons why they took it up in the first place. So why is this? What is happening? Because surely we're going out there, we're burning all this extra energy, and we need to replace this carbohydrate, this stored muscle glycogen, into our muscles that we are able to go out and train the next day. But here's the thing, especially if you're following a program like Beginner's Luck, you are not going to be burning through that much energy. It is a good adjunct to a weight loss program, but that's not the goal of the Beginner's Luck program. It will give you healthy habits, it will put you into the fat burning zone, which is a good thing, but it's not designed as a weight loss program by itself. If you then think of yourself as a runner and do what runners have to do, which is to go and pile into the pasta after a training session, then you're either going to stay static with your weight or it's actually going to start going up. Runners need a lot less carbohydrate energy from their food than we perhaps believe. And I'm an example of that, but also know many, many other elite level runners, 230, 235 marathon runners who eat very little in the way of complex carbohydrates. They get their energy from fats, and they get their energy from proteins, and they get their energy from the nutrients they put into their body. Very highly nutritious vegetables and fruits and other foods like chia seeds and coconut oil and so on. It's a myth that we need to be piling into the carbohydrates, especially post-run, that 30 to 60 minute window. I've written a lot about this already, so it's on the blog. I'll direct you to that if you want to read up on that a little bit more. But by and large, you don't need to be eating loads and loads of carbs. Now, I've kind of digressed from the question there a little bit, but the question was about snacking, and often we're thinking, well, I've got to snack, I've got to be eating something carby. Well, I would suggest if you're going to snack on something, have something that's going to fill you up. So something that's high in protein, something that's high in fats, and some kind of a smoothie. Just glanced across to my trusty blender over there, because that's one of the things that I would often do for snack. I'd chuck in those chia seeds, a nut butter, maybe a banana, throw that in there. I'll probably put a little handful of oats, but nothing too much in there, and some almond milk, some ice cubes, and blitz it all up, and there's my snack. Okay, I'm going to get all the healthy fats, a little bit of carbohydrate energy, but it's by no means the main event. The main event's coming from the proteins and the fats and the nutrients. A little handful of spinach in there as well. That's always a good one too. Try that one out. It looks a bit weird, but it tastes great. So nutrition is a whole area, and it's something that you can get better results with your running if you take that into account too, if you make some adjustments to your diet, to your nutrition. And I know many of you bought some of my cookbooks over the weekend as well, which is fantastic. Thank you very much. You can still get those cookbooks, by the way, with the bundle offer is finished. But in those cookbooks, it gives you examples well, it gives you hundreds actually of recipes that are completely clean. So they eliminate things like wheat. They eliminate sugar. You don't need sugar, not even as a runner. You don't need to have pure sugar. It eliminates processed foods. They're the main 3 things to eliminate, because the less toxic load you can put into your body, the easier it's going to be for your body to metabolize fat, and also to produce the kind of energy that you need to feel motivated, to feel like you want to go out for a run. And don't forget as well, you are doing a lot of damage to your body. You go out running, you're giving your body, you're creating these free radicals that are coursing around your body and causing all kind of chaos. You need to neutralize that with antioxidants, and the antioxidants come from vegetables. So you hear about superfoods. It's the superfoods that are going to give you the high levels of antioxidants. So pile into those type of foods. Okay. With nutrition, I think that the main point really was about the carbohydrates and not eating too much in the way of carbs. And it's a bit of a myth-busting section, that. So go back and read that chapter in the book. And if you've got any other questions on that, then I'll point you in the direction of the relevant blog articles on my website. Let me have a look, see if there's any other questions come in since I last checked. So I'm now looking at Facebook, if anybody's got any questions. Oh, here we go. We've got Jack. How often should you do speed endurance training or a hard session like that in a week? Well, actually, Jack, I'd say to start off with, forget about any kind of speed training. I imagine from your question that you're probably a little bit more advanced already, which is brilliant. And I know there's a few runners in here who aren't starting completely from scratch. That's fine, because it's a confidence builder as well. But if you're looking at doing speed endurance, I imagine you're probably talking about threshold runs, to chuck a couple of some terminology into the mix there. Threshold runs are where you're really working hard, but you can only hold it for so long. So that would be speed endurance. It's not absolutely flat out, but it's definitely working harder than we want to be working for the most part of the Beginner's Luck program. In which case, once, maximum twice a week with those type of harder sessions. Maximum twice a week, because your body does need extra time to recover from those workouts. Hazel, how important is it to stretch at the end of a run? I always forget to do it. But the thing is, no one likes to stretch, Hazel. No one likes to stretch, and it's something that most of us kind of forget about or just leave at the end of a run, and that's normally because it's boring and we kind of just want to get on with our lives when we get back. We've done the hard part, we've done what we set out to do, we don't really want to bother about stretching. However, the key with stretching, or the main point of stretching, is that it returns your muscles back to their original length. And that's important, because muscles contract, and then you leave them in that contracted state at the end of a workout, end of a run, your hamstrings in particular, then over time they can start to shorten. So the stretches at the end of a run, I'd say a little bit of foam rolling if you have a foam roller. You don't have to spend too long actually, but yeah, a few moments of stretching to the hamstrings. It's not everybody needs to stretch at the end of a run. Most people do, and most people will benefit from it. But there will be some people who never stretch at the end of the run and they never have any problems whatsoever. However, I imagine if you do have a stretch at the end of the run, you probably feel better. Most people generally tend to, but yet it's still not quite motivating enough to motivate us to do it every single time. If you really want to know what the best thing to do at the end of a run, a hard run is get your legs into an ice bath. Probably even more uncomfortable than stretching. Probably something you'd even like to do even less, but if you've done a run, especially as you progress through the program, they're getting harder and harder, then an ice bath, where you just put a few inches of water into the cold water at the bottom of the bath, chuck a couple of big bags of ice in there, then get in for as long as you can handle, then that is going to make a really big difference to how quickly your legs recover. Probably a little bit more appropriate for when you're getting into running for the longer distances, and perhaps, as Jack said there, when you're doing some of the speed endurance work as well. But to begin with, a little bit of a light stretch at the end of a workout. Again, there's a chapter in the book about that, but the question really was how important is it? It's different for everybody. It's a good thing to do, but if you don't do a stretch at the end of the workout, it's not the end of the world. Your body will tell you when it really needs to stretch. And if you're starting to get prone to injuries and niggles, then it becomes more important that you do that. Okay, any other questions? So let's have a look. What have we got here? Oh, no other questions come up on that thread. Let me just do a couple of check down through, see if anybody else has asked questions anywhere else. Okay, well, I can't see any other questions anywhere. Wendy's just popped on to say that, oh, must have been out with Hazel. Oh, good for you, Wendy and Hazel. Going out and getting the runs in there. So you just did Bobcat session 1, so well done for getting that going. I know that's been a really good, uplifting thread to see everyone's support there of each other, and especially if you're based in Tame, which is actually where I live as well, then there seems to be a little bit of a group getting together. So all well and good. Let me just go back to the Hangouts page. Okay, so folks, I am going to leave that there. I will be online as always, coming through. Let me just finish off actually before I go. Tell you a little bit about one of the other fantastic facilities that we have with this group, which is a real kind of, I hadn't been planned originally, but it's something that's just evolved, and that's that we've got Katie Tape with us, and Louise, who runs Katie Tape. She is in the group. She's also a beginner, was a beginner runner, and she's now a run leader. So she's gone kind of full circle from being beginner to now inspiring other runners, and she's also runs and heads up the UK division of Katie Tape. If you don't know anything about Katie Tape, I'm going to do a little interview with her in the next week or so, and she can explain a bit about it. But if you do get niggles, then it's not the be-all and end-all. It's not the only solution you should ever consider, but it can help make running much more comfortable by putting a little bit of this special magic tape, as it's been billed as. And we've also got a Pro Taper Jen. It's not a real name. That'd be a bit of an unusual name if it was, but no, Pro Taper Jen is also in the group, and they're both there to answer any injury questions that you have, or niggles. If you're getting a bit of a sore point, your knees are hurting, your calves are hurting, your feet or ankles are hurting, or anything like that, just put in what your symptoms are, tag Pro Taper Jen or Louise Alpine into your question, and I'll jump on there and I'll give you the best of their advice possible. There's no substitute for going and seeing a physio, but there's also no harm done in getting some advice from some experts in the first place. Thanks very much for tuning in tonight, and if you're watching this on record, I hope it's been useful to you. Ask questions in the Facebook group, invite your friends, anybody can come and join you still. You don't have to have got a free copy of the book. The book's now only £3.50 if you go onto the Amazon site and purchase the book. It's not very much, and you can still get into the program now, so they've not shut the doors or anything. So keep on inviting your friends, and I'm really, really rooting for you. I'm really hoping that you're successful with this. Follow the golden key, slow down, don't worry about progressing at any set rate, level by level by level, and you will get there, and you will get that confidence. Bye for now.